Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we continue following the heartbreaking yet thrilling story of the single mother, Lai Hsieh. As we saw in the previous episodes, Hsieh is currently staying at the home of Ha, a kind-hearted man who reached out to help her during her darkest days. Yet, her heart is torn between three men: Du, Tony's biological father who still wants to return; Ha, the man who silently sacrifices and loves her in the shadows; and Hung, the one she truly loves, despite all the pain they've endured. Hsieh loves Hung, a love strong enough to forgive, even though his mother once pushed her to the brink of death. Because Hsieh understands that Hung is not at fault. He loves her sincerely. It's fate's cruel twist that dragged them into this tragedy. But today's episode will unveil a shocking twist no one expected. Hung's mother, the woman who caused all the suffering, has finally been tracked down by the police after days on the run. The police surrounded the remote area where she was hiding. In a moment of desperation, she made a reckless choice, leaping into the raging river in a last attempt to escape. How will this dramatic chase unfold? And Hung, a devoted son but also a police officer who puts justice above all else, how will he react when forced to confront the sight of his own mother being hunted like a criminal? Everything will be revealed in today's episode. Stay tuned, because what's about to happen will leave everyone holding their breath in suspense. Hung's debt had finally started to stabilize. After months of relentless struggle, endless sleepless nights spent calculating every penny, and countless days enduring the scorn of creditors, he had managed to pay off 70% of what he owed, thanks to borrowing from friends, colleagues, and those close to him. That money went straight to the loan sharks who had once kept him living in constant fear. Yet, 30% still remained, a figure that felt like a mountain pressing down on his shoulders. Only when it was paid off could he reclaim his family home, a place that was not just property, but the last piece of his family's memories. As Hung sat at the table, his weary eyes fixed on the numbers scribbled across his debt sheet, Hsieh quietly approached. She gently placed her hand on his shoulder, her voice soft as a whisper carried by the wind. "Hung, maybe you should sell the land where we made all those memories. Or, if not, you could sell my house instead. I don't need to keep anything. As long as it helps you escape this debt. I don't mind, truly." Her words struck Hung like lightning. He lifted his gaze to Hsieh, her clear eyes filled with worry, yet unwavering in determination. He knew she didn't say this because she didn't care. She said it because she loved him. And in that moment, memories flooded back. The piece of land she mentioned, it wasn't just soil and grass. It was the place where they once sat together, surrounded by open fields and wind. It was where he once held her hand and promised to protect her for life. Every tree, every stone there carried their sweetest moments. Selling it would be like cutting away a piece of his soul. Hung tightened his grip on her hand, his gaze resolute. "No, Hsieh. I can still manage this. I can't sell that land, and I won't let you sacrifice any more. Unless we've reached the very end, I'll hold on to it, for both you and me." Tears welled in Hsieh's eyes, but she smiled, a bittersweet smile, full of both love and pain. She understood that behind his firmness was a heart that had been wounded too many times, yet still stood strong. From that day on, Hung worked tirelessly. By day, he was at the office. By night, he took on extra shifts, sometimes to the point of collapsing in exhaustion at his desk. His friends, seeing him wear himself down, would say, "Hung, take a break. You're not made of steel." But Hung only shook his head. He knew he couldn't stop. If he stopped, everything would fall apart. He had to pay off the remaining 30%. He had to keep the house, and he had to keep that land, so that Hsieh would know that everything he was doing was for her. Late at night, Ha-I-Ca often watched him quietly from behind. She saw him growing thinner, his hands calloused, his eyes dark with fatigue. Her heart ached so badly she wanted to hug him and cry. But instead, she would simply step closer, place her hand on his shoulder, and whisper, "I believe in you. Just don't give up." And for Hung, burdened by the weight of everything, those few words were all he needed to keep moving forward. Even though Hung's mother was the one who caused all of Ha-I-Ca's suffering, in her heart, her love for Hung had never wavered. Ha-I-Ca understood one thing very clearly: Hung was not at fault. He never wanted his mother to commit those cruel acts, and he himself had been tormented by guilt just as much as she had. Many would wonder how Ha-I-Ca could possibly forgive him, but only she knew the truth. Her love for Hung was deep enough to overcome any hatred. In him, she saw a good man, full of integrity and responsibility, someone who, no matter how painful things became, had never once abandoned her. One late night, as they sat together in their small room, Hung held Ha-I-Ca's hand tightly, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Ha-I-Ca, I'm sorry. I know my mother did things to you that are unforgivable. But I swear to you, I will never cover for her. I am a police officer, and I am also the man who loves you. I promise you, my mother will face justice, no matter how much it hurts me." Ha-I-Ca looked deep into his eyes. In them, she saw the inner conflict of a son, but also the unshakable resolve of a man who would place justice above all else. Gently, she touched his cheek and whispered softly, "Hung, I've never blamed you. I know it's not your fault. As long as you keep this heart, I will always be by your side." Her words left Hung choked with emotion. He held Ha-I-Ca tightly in his arms, as if to etch that moment deep into his soul. He loved her, and he was filled with sorrow that it was his own mother who had hurt her so deeply. But from that moment on, Hung made a vow to Ha-I-Ca and to himself: he would not cover up, he would not turn a blind eye, and he would not forgive. Even if it meant facing his own mother, he would make sure she paid the price for everything she had done. Ha-I-Ca looked at him and nodded gently. No matter how many hardships awaited them, she knew that as long as Hung kept this promise, they could overcome it all, together. Today, Hung went to visit Ha-I-Ca and Tony. Ha's house was filled with the warmth of laughter, a sound Hung hadn't heard in what felt like forever. The four of them, together with Ha's mother, sat around a simple but heartwarming dinner table. Tony eagerly chattered about his day at school. Ha-I-Ca occasionally scooped more rice into Hung's bowl, while Ha quietly observed it all with a look that was both happy and faintly wistful. In that moment, Hung felt an unfamiliar sense of peace. He had once wished that he and Ha-I-Ca could live like this forever, free from debt, free from the shadows of the past. But just then, the phone in his pocket rang abruptly. He frowned and glanced at the screen. It was his superior. Hung stepped outside to answer the call. His superior's urgent voice came through the receiver. "Hung, we've made new progress in the case involving your mother. She's been spotted near the riverside in the outskirts. We need you back at the station immediately to provide more leads." Hung's heart tightened. That was his mother, but also a fugitive. His grip on the phone grew so tight his knuckles turned white. In his mind, he saw Ha-I-Ca's face, the woman who had nearly lost her life because of his mother. He drew in a deep breath, forcing down the ache in his chest, and answered firmly. "Understood. I'll be there right away." When he returned inside, Hung hid the tension from his face and managed a smile for Ha-I-Ca. He gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "I have an urgent matter at the station. You stay here and finish dinner with everyone, don't worry about me." Ha-I-Ca looked at him, and though she didn't speak, her gaze carried quiet trust. Ha, standing nearby, spoke up softly. "If you need any help, just say the word." Hung gave him a nod of gratitude before turning to leave. Inside him, there was only one unwavering resolve: even if she was his mother, he would make her face justice. Not only for the sake of the law, but for Hoi-Ca, the woman he loved with every part of his soul. At the station, Hung strode quickly into the briefing room. The atmosphere was so tense it felt as if it could be cut with a knife. On the large screen was a detailed map of the border area, the place where Hung's mother was believed to be hiding. Hung's superior, Lieutenant Colonel Pham, stood before the map, his voice low and steady. "Hung, we've just received new intelligence. Your mother is currently hiding in the border region. This area is semi-autonomous, with rugged terrain and a complicated population. If she has anyone sheltering or aiding her, the arrest will be extremely difficult." Hung clenched his fists. Even though he had braced himself for this moment, hearing it out loud still pierced his heart. No matter what she had done, she was still his mother. But then, the image of Hoi-Ca surfaced in his mind, reminding him of all the pain his mother had caused. Lieutenant Colonel Pham continued. "We need you to provide more information. Any detail could be crucial: her habits, the places she frequented, and especially her medical condition. If she's sick, she'll have to find a way to get medicine or visit a clinic. That might be our best lead to track her down and bring her in." Hung was silent for a moment, his gaze darkening. Then, with resolve, he looked up. "She suffers from chronic arthritis. When the weather turns cold, the pain in her joints is unbearable. She can hardly move without painkillers. In the past, she used to buy her medication at the pharmacy near Tan Lap Market. If she's hiding at the border, she'll most likely seek out small local clinics or rural pharmacies." Another officer immediately began jotting down notes. Lieutenant Colonel Pham nodded, his tone firm but laced with understanding. "Good. That's valuable information. Hung, I know this isn't easy for you. But remember, justice must be served. No one is above the law." Hung drew in a deep breath, then replied without hesitation. "Yes, sir. If necessary, I'll personally join the operation to apprehend her." The room fell silent for a moment. Hung's colleagues exchanged glances, some even gave him a subtle nod of respect. They all knew how much strength it took for him to say those words. Lieutenant Colonel Pham placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're a good officer, Hung. Get ready, we move out tonight." Inside Hung, emotions clashed violently, between a son's love for his mother and the unyielding duty of a policeman. But in the end, only one resolve remained: he would bring his mother to justice, for Hoi-Ca, and for his own conscience. At first, when his superior asked Hung to provide clues about his mother's whereabouts, he hesitated. After all, she was still the woman who had given birth to him and raised him. The thought that his mother might be arrested, put on trial, or even face the harshest sentence, felt like a knife twisting in his chest. But Hung was not only a son, he was also a police officer. And as an officer of integrity, he knew one undeniable truth: no one is above the law, not even his own family. Hung sat in silence for a few moments, his hands clenched tightly on the desk. Then, with unwavering resolve, he looked straight into his superior's eyes and said, "I'll give you everything. She's my mother, but she must pay for what she's done. I won't let Hoi-Ca, and I won't let justice, suffer any more harm." From that moment, Hung revealed every detail that only a son could know. The food stalls his mother frequented. The pharmacies where she used to buy medicine for her arthritis and diabetes. Her daily habits, and even the fears she always tried to hide. His superior nodded, taking meticulous notes of every detail. However, due to his blood relation to the suspect, Hung was ordered not to participate directly in the arrest operation, but only to support from the outside as an information consultant. The information Hung provided was quickly put to use by the investigation team. And then, the first breakthrough came. An investigator reported, "We've reviewed the medical records of hospitals and private clinics in the border area. We found a woman matching the description of Hung's mother. She visited a small clinic in a border town to get medicine for her diabetes." The room erupted with tension and energy. Lieutenant Colonel Pham slammed his hand on the table. "This is the key lead. Mobilize our forces immediately. Lock down the area around the clinic and the neighboring districts. She has to be nearby." Hung stood silently beside them, his eyes bloodshot but steady. He knew this moment would come. The moment when he would have to choose between personal feelings and justice. Deep down, he whispered to himself, "I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't let you keep running." As soon as the task force received confirmed information from the clinic, they immediately set up an ambush. The investigators disguised themselves as patients, medical staff, and local residents, quietly monitoring every movement around the hospital. However, Hung's mother, a woman experienced and extremely cautious, quickly sensed something was wrong. Just seeing a few unfamiliar faces appear repeatedly in the area was enough for her to grow suspicious. Without wasting another second, she seized an opening and slipped out through the hospital's back door. "She's on the run." "Back door!" an investigator shouted. Immediately, multiple teams were deployed. They followed every trace she left behind, from a scarf dropped along a narrow alley to eyewitness accounts from nearby residents. The situation grew increasingly tense. Faced with this, the command made a decisive call. "Hung, only you can stop her. If you don't, this will spiral out of control." Hung rushed to the scene. His heart pounded as he ran, gripping his radio tightly. He couldn't believe it had come to this. Finally, the teams cornered Hung's mother on a small bridge spanning a raging river near the border. The roaring water below and the howling wind through the cliffs only added to the suffocating tension. The task force immediately surrounded the bridge, using a loudspeaker to call out, "Mrs. Tran Thi Lu. There's no way out. Surrender now. If you cooperate, the law will show leniency." But Hung's mother didn't flinch. Her eyes burned with despair and defiance. She shouted, "Stay back. If you catch me, Hung, he'll lose everything. He'll be expelled from the police force. I won't let my son live in shame because of me." Suddenly, in the chaos, a young boy happened to wander onto the bridge. Panicked, Hung's mother grabbed the child, holding him tightly like a hostage. The entire scene erupted in alarm. The investigators froze, afraid to make a wrong move. The loudspeaker blared again, even more urgent. "Mrs. Lu. Calm down. Don't hurt the child. Think of Hung. You're only making this worse." Hung stepped forward, pushing past his colleagues. He grabbed the loudspeaker, his voice trembling but resolute. "Mom, it's me, Hung. Please, let the boy go. I don't care what anyone says about me. I just want you alive. Come back and face this, please, don't do this." Hung's mother faltered. Her eyes quivered as she stared at her son, not with anger, but with a mix of agony and longing. The air turned to stone. Only the roar of the river below broke the silence. The task force held the perimeter tight. Hung, now standing at the front, took another step closer. His voice cracked but carried unwavering determination. "Mom, it's me. Please, let the boy go. Don't make this worse. I promise I'll get you the best lawyer. If you surrender, you still have a chance to start over." His mother whipped around, her face contorted with rage, her voice hoarse. "Shut up. This is all because of that girl, Paisa. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't be living like this. And you dare defend her in front of me? Are you even my son anymore, Hung?" Hung froze. Her words cut through him like knives. Yet he steadied himself, forcing down the pain to keep speaking. "Mom, please, listen. Paisa isn't to blame. You are. I love her, and no matter what you do, that won't change. But at least, please, let the boy go. I'm begging you." The boy sobbed in her arms, the tension on the bridge unbearable. The investigators stood ready but dared not act, afraid of pushing her over the edge. Hung's mother let out a bitter, broken laugh. Tears streamed down her face as she growled. "Hung, you chose her over me. Fine. But I won't let anyone see me taken in like this. Not alive. But first." Suddenly, she shoved the boy toward Hung. He lunged forward and caught the child safely. But in that very instant, his mother climbed the railing. "Mom, no!" Hung's scream tore through the air. But it was too late. She turned back one last time, her eyes filled with pain, despair, and a faint trace of love. She shouted. If it weren't for that girl, everything would have been different. And then, she threw herself into the icy river below. The scene went silent. Hung stood frozen, clutching the boy tightly, his eyes red with disbelief. His colleagues rushed to the edge of the bridge, tossing lifebuoys into the raging current. But Hung didn't move. He just stood there, trembling, whispering through clenched teeth. "Mom, why did you choose this path?" The sound of Hung's mother plunging into the river tore through the air like a blade slicing the sky. For a few seconds, Hung stood frozen in shock. Then, as if on instinct, he thrust the child into the arms of a nearby officer and bolted toward the raging waters. "Mom!" His scream ripped through the air, echoing across the small bridge. But before he could leap, two officers grabbed him from behind, holding him back with all their strength. "Hung! No! The current is too dangerous. Let the rescue team handle it. Let me go. I have to save my mother. Let me go." Hung roared like a wounded beast, thrashing wildly. His bloodshot eyes burned with despair, his voice cracking beneath the roar of the wind and the river below. But no matter how violently he struggled, the combined strength of several men pinned him down. At last, Hung collapsed to his knees on the cold concrete. He pounded his fists against the bridge, each blow landing with a hollow thud that carried all his grief and helpless fury. "Mom! Mom!" His voice broke, choked by tears that mingled with sweat. The rescue team immediately deployed lifebuoys and cast nets into the churning river. Everyone on the bridge stood in heavy silence, their faces grim. Only the radios crackled with urgent commands. "No sign yet, keep sweeping downstream. Send more men. Hurry." Hung stared down at the icy waters, his eyes lifeless. He couldn't comprehend it. Just minutes ago, his mother had been standing there, shouting at him, and now, all that remained was the vast, merciless void beneath the bridge. The weight of it all crashed down on him. His body buckled, and he collapsed entirely, his eyes fluttering shut. "Hung! Stay with us!" An officer shouted, catching him before he hit the ground. The entire task force stood in stunned silence. The sight of a steadfast police officer brought to his knees by his own mother's desperate choice struck everyone like a blow to the heart. In that moment, time itself seemed to stop. Only the relentless roar of the river remained, swallowing the most devastating tragedy of Hung's life. So, did Hung's mother survive after throwing herself into the river? Or has this tragedy truly reached a point of no return? Hung, the righteous son, now crumbles under unbearable grief. He not only lost the chance to save his mother, but he must also face a bitter truth, that even in her final moments, she still carried hatred for Hoi-Ca, blaming the very woman he loves most. Between love and pain, between justice and family, how will Hung choose? Will he find the strength to rise again, protect Hoi-Ca, and keep walking the path he believes is right? And that river? Has it really swallowed everything, or is it hiding a secret no one could ever imagine? This is only the beginning. If you have your own theory or feeling about what's next, share it in the comments below. And if you don't want to miss the next shocking turn of this story, hit subscribe and join me as we uncover the truth that could change everything. See you in the next episode, where fate will force Hung to confront the most heartbreaking decision of his life.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa mọi người đến câu chuyện tình yêu của mẹ đơn thân Lý Hoài Ca và cảnh sát Hùng nha mọi người. Như mọi người cũng biết thì tình yêu của Hoài Ca và Hùng thì đã vượt qua rất là nhiều khó khăn. Và ngay thậm chí khi mà mẹ anh dùng đến hạ sách là muốn hại chết cả Hoài Ca để chia cắt, thì hai người vẫn may mắn được sống sót và ở bên nhau. Và hiện tại bên cảnh sát đang ráo riết truy lùng thông tin của mẹ Hùng và đã tìm được thông tin của bà dựa vào manh mối mà Hùng cung cấp về căn bệnh tiểu đường của bà. Vậy thì mẹ của Hùng đã trốn tránh tội lỗi của mình bằng cách gieo mình xuống dòng sông. Thì liệu mẹ của Hùng có giữ được tính mạng hay không, và Hùng sẽ xử lý việc này như thế nào khi anh là một cảnh sát, và trong khi anh rất là yêu thương Hoài Ca, và tận đến bây giờ khi mẹ anh gieo mình xuống dòng sông thì mẹ anh vẫn rất là hận Hoài Ca. Mọi chuyện sẽ diễn biến ra sao? Mời mọi người đón xem ở những tập tiếp theo. Bye bye.